Welcome to Decker Tech. I'm Aaron Decker, and today we're doing another Dota 2 guide, specifically Witch Doctor, the master of voodoo himself. Now, Witch Doctor is quite the damageful. He's all about doing lots of damage to your opponents. He's the kind of support, like, yes, he's got a heal spell, but the thing most people remember about a Witch Doctor when they go against him is Maledict. Tick, tick, dead. That's kind of how Maledict plays out. So, Maledict and Paralyzing Cask. So we're going to go through this. We'll go talk about the different stages of playing him. This is going to be a support video. So we'll talk about kind of how the laning phase will play out, and kind of what spells to pick and how to use them. Then how it transitions to mid game and what you can do in the mid game to help your team win. And then late game team fights, how you're supposed to position to get the most out of your spells and abilities, and contribute the most to team fights and map control in general. So, in the lane, Witch Doctor is all about kill threat, and he's going to do that with Paralyzing Cask, or I'm going to keep calling it Coconut, and Maledict. Maledict is the real danger here. Paralyzing Cask is kind of the setup for it. If you have a reliable stun in your lane partner, you can go Maledict level 1. But most of the time it's safer to just go Cask level 1, and then you're just going to be maxing this Maledict. And the way Maledict works, it's not the more damage the person has taken, it's the lower their health total is from the initial cast. So ways to artificially increase or decrease their health total affects this, but for the most part you can just think of it as damage. The more damage they've taken since the initial cast of Maledict, the more damage Maledict will do. So it'll take 4 times, or 3 times really, but every time it ticks, it compares current health total to health total when the Maledict was applied to the target. And this Maledict is not dispellable, so it's pretty hardy and it's going to stick around on the target. This percentage is talking about lost health burst damage, 16% to 40%, is the difference of life from now to when you cast the spell, the more damage it does. So when you cast Maledict on someone, or they get Maledict on them, the more damage you pump into them before the first tick, the more damage they're going to take overall. Because every tick later will take that damage and amplify it, and it'll compound on itself. It's like debt, credit card debt, or financial debt. The deeper you are and the sooner you're in it, the worse it gets. Like you're putting their life total on the line here with debt. So the goal of Maledict is coordinate with your lane partner, or just at least yourself. Once Maledict is hit on the target, get as much damage on them in the next 2 or 3 seconds as possible, and then you can just kind of let it tick, because the later it goes on, the less important that damage is. But the initial damage is really important. I've harped on this a lot. Let's move on to the Paralyzing Cask. Paralyzing Cask. This is a stun. It is a bouncy ball of death. I don't think it doesn't prioritize heroes, so you got to be careful while you throw this, but the initial hit will hit the target and then bounce off it and do a little search radius for the second target and keep bouncing until it runs out. So it starts with 2 bounces, so it'll hit your initial target, hit another target, and has a chance to come back to the initial target. And that's the key with Paralyzing Cask, is the goal for casting this spell is you always want to aim for 2 targets. If 2 enemy heroes are standing next to each other, perfect. If one enemy hero is standing next to a creep, just one creep, perfect. It'll just bounce between the 2 targets over and over until it runs out of bounces. So once it's max level, you're hitting that target 5 times. So it's a pretty big deal, especially since every bounce does more damage. So the later bounces do the most damage. So if you can get it bouncing between 2 people, it's deadly. That's why Witch Doctor is really good in lane, because if the opponents aren't paying attention, they'll stand next to each other and they'll get it bouncing between them, and they'll be perma-stunned until the cask runs out of bounces. So level 2 or 3 of this, you can get someone stuck there for 4 or 5 seconds, and it is horrible. It is very painful. If you've ever been hit by by a Paralyzing Cask standing next to someone, it's worse than being stuck next to someone during a Wind Ranger stun. It's like, why are we standing next to each other? And it's very punishing. And I have an example of that. I've babbled enough about this. Let's see if I can get to... It would be right here. Yes, this one. So the goal in the laning stage is you want to set up as many 2-man casks as possible. This is either 2 heroes or a hero and a creep. You want to get that bounce ball to bounce correctly. You're also going to use the cask for range creep secure. That's a little harder because its initial damage is kind of low. It's the bounces that do more. So I don't really have any good examples of securing the range creep in this video. At least not that I scouted out earlier. But I do have a really good example of bad guys standing where they shouldn't here. So lane's pushing in. I tried to secure the range. I secured one range creep, and the next one I kind of missed on it. I just did a lot of damage to the enemy Luna. And now I'm setting this pull up, because any of these kill target heroes, the whole point is you want to get the enemy out of position for your spells. And you're going to see here, I set this up. So, hey guys, what's happening? You're not getting any experience here. And what are you going to do about it? Come contest. And I know they're coming to contest, so I'm keeping my eye open here for them coming down. And they're coming down right now, so I'm ready with my spells. Maledict and Coconut. And let's watch that again just a little slower here. So the order of the spells are kind of important. Usually I'd start with Cask to secure the Maledict, because if you notice this radius on Maledict is a little smaller than Cask. But I knew I was going to hit the Maledict, so I clumped them next to each other, and then now it bounced between both of them. You saw that. Bounce, bounce, bounce. So they are now taking this tick damage, and since I did so much damage with the Cask, you'll see that they just kind of tick away, and I don't have to be there anymore. But at the beginning, you saw I put a right click or two. Let me show that one more time. The key was, I knew they were coming up. I was going to get the Cask. I can't get my teammate to come help me. But between me, I'm going to get at least one right click in there. I don't want to be too aggressive because, Dazzle has Poison Touch, and I can't trade into that. But now they're super weak for a later setup here. Oh, I should have bounced. Whatever. We're jumping ahead a little here. So now they're still weak from that earlier aggression. Or maybe I got a kill and I might have not put it here. Yeah, I think I already have a. Yeah, I already have a kill, so I didn't get that. I'm sorry. But what's cool is, like I said, you're always trying to set up these 2-man positions. Like, they're feeling a little aggressive. I'm showing kind of weak. They're chasing down this Dawnbreaker. Well, what do you know? You should not walk in pairs next to... See, this time, started with the Cask. Get them, hold them in place so that I can hit this Maledict. I'm really bad at hitting Maledicts, by the way. But as you can see, they're just ticking down. Like, once this Maledict hits, they're dead right here. Like, they're both dead. No one has to do any more damage to them. Dazzle can't heal them through this, because this is just going to tick. It's not dispellable. Shallow Grave's going to end. This Maledict, the way it works, is very deadly. So it's all about getting that burst damage right when you place the Maledict. I've harped on this enough. Let's move on to the next part of hit. So kill him, get a double kill. Lane's going great. I've killed these guys. I got 3 kills now. My poor lane partner doesn't have any of the last hits on the enemy heroes, but that's okay. We like them ourselves. I think I got one more here for 350. So, well, I think one of them is going to teleport back to lane, and I'm going to make sure that when I harass them, I do it away from the melee creeps, right? So don't mind me as I deal with my inventory here. So as I come up to harass this Luna, I want to make sure that I'm not standing next to those melee creeps. See, there's just her. There's just her and a range creep. This, like, it's going to go here, bounce to this, and bounce back. And since it's level 2, it's going to do that twice. And since there's no melee creeps to bounce to, it's just going to go between the two of them. And I've got Maledict. Oh, I say that. it did hit a melee creep, but it did come back. That was a lucky bounce. I didn't realize that. But I hit her twice. She's got Maledict on her. She's hating life, and she's leaving lane. Which, yeah, that's kind of what you do here in the early game. Here is just the Maledict and Coconut casts. Let's see if I can get to these screens correctly. And as you can see, you're just maxing Maledict, prioritizing your ultimate, and getting Cask. Like, you're leveling both of these to max before you even get a single point in Voodoo. Yes, sometimes you can get the point in Voodoo, but your presence on the map is really just kill potential. I mean, 3 out of your 4 spells are deal damage, make people's life miserable, really punish them. And in the early game, like in the lane, you can do a lot of that by yourself. Later, you're going to pair up with at least one other person, be a 2-man kill squad. But the first time you get your ultimate, you can just go solo people. Later, you take someone with you, and then eventually move as like a group of 3. And then eventually, in later team fights, you're going to have to play a little differently. But I'd say in the level 6 to 10 or 12 range, you and one other can kill anyone. And a lot of the times you, if you feel comfortable enough doing it by yourself. And I would like to show you some of those. And so in the early game, we're really just looking for normal lane items, some good trading ways to right-click your enemy. You want to get favorable trades and punish their health totals. So just regen and normal stuff there. Nothing crazy here going on. I like the move speed because I like to get around the map fast if I decide to go kill people. And let's see if we can show you the kill people part. 720. And if you like what you're seeing here, please let me know. If you're not seeing what you want to, let me know that. Like, if you got any questions, hey, I didn't see you do this, or what do I do here? So now, we're at about 8 minutes. The mid has scouted out the meteor hammers finished on OD, and we know OD's going to make a play on the Invoker. So, Invoker's like, hey, come to the lane. And if your mid doesn't do it himself, you're going to have to, work that on your own, but it's nice when the mid asks for it. But I know there's going to be a skirmish here, and we will show the power of the Witch Doctor. So he's going on him. Hey, look, there's him and 1 or 2 creeps. I've got a 50% chance for it to bounce back to OD. But the stun cancels the Meteor Hammer. It bounced back to OD. Maledict's on him, he's dead. Like, we don't have to do anything. You saw how big of that tick did? Boom. And it's going to take one more time before he's gone, so I can just walk away. Bam. He's gone. And, yeah, that's kind of what you do as the Witch Doctor. You just pair up with one other person, stun him out of position, drop the Maledict, and eventually, now that I'm level 6, you just throw the ward into the mix. I'm looking for the Luna. I know she's scared of me. And she's dead. And honestly, she would have been dead, like, even before that ultimate, she was basically dead. But I want to make sure that if the Dazzle comes and meets up with her and heals her for any significant amount. So, ward to get vision. I know I was going to hit the Maledict, and then I just need enough damage. Like, so it's very important. Like, even if I don't channel this forever, as long as I get it before the Maledict takes once or twice, it's very important to get that early damage in. And then it would have just kept ticking in and would have died. So, with the Death Ward, let's kind of just leave it paused here at the Death Ward out. As you can see, I'm channeling, and the ward is somewhere like it. You can place the ward in a radius around you, but the attacks target from the ward. So the ward is actually right-clicking. It is auto-attacking. It is not. It's not magical damage. It's physical damage. And so this means it goes through BKBs and spell immunity, like Juggernaut spinning. You can still hit him with this. Lifestealer, Rage, you can still right-click through this. So this is really good against heroes that rely against spell immunity, like Razors, or anyone that heavily relies on a BKB. The damage is from the ward, so Blade Mail will not hit you. It'll reflect back to the ward that takes no damage, and stuff like that. So a lot of those weird interactions. Also, if the target is like Penance and is creating increased attack speed from Chen, it affects the ward. Like, there's a lot of weird interactions. Just think of it as like you're summoning a totem that's right-clicking the opponent. So anything that right-clicks is how it interacts and affects. And it's a pretty heavy right-click, as you can see. 8 seconds to 85 per hit, and then up to 195. But you can also control the ward. Now this one, it really depends on what your settings are. In your settings, what you have for controlled units, and when they're summoned, if they come out. But as you can see, for me, I guess it's not considered a summoned unit. Or it's not showing my interface. On my interface, it should show me, plus I'm controlling my ward, because I can actually click on the Death Ward. You can see I'm clicking on the Death Ward here. It says Death Ward, Witch Doctor. So When I summon it, it's showing both of us. And while I'm channeling, if I just right-click on someone, that'll change the target. If I wanted to, I could start hitting these creeps. This is actually something I learned after this game because it's just something I didn't know. Once you start channeling your ultimate, you can redirect the attacks on it. You got to be careful, though, because if I right-click on the ground and make a move command, I will just move my Witch Doctor. But as long as it's an attack command, it'll just redirect the ward, and I don't have to worry about, like, if this person's being shallow grave. Like, this happens in this game a lot. Dazzle, shallow grave, whoever I'm targeting with a ward, and I should be retargeting it onto someone else afterwards. I just didn't have the skill or know how to do that yet. So that's what I'm telling you now. You can control the ward. You can either control it directly, like on my screen, it'll have Witch Doctor and ward both in my control. You can do whatever your hotkeys are to select the non-hero ones. I don't know where it is right here, but you know, in this kind of control area, the somewhere in here it's like heroes that aren't you or whatever. You can find it. Search someone else who knows it better than me. I don't do it very often. But practice, I would just go into a lobby, a demo lobby, and practice ways of redirecting the attacks of the ward without canceling your ultimate. Because like I said, in my current setup, if I right-click the ground, I'll stop channeling. So it's kind of dangerous. But if I right-click a person, it'll redirect it. Or you can, you know, toggle through your heroes and make that happen that way. I babbled on that way longer than I meant to. Bkb Piercing, big thing to know. It does a lot of damage, and you want to do it hopefully after a Maledict in your ganking stages. So in the laning, Maledict and Coconut. In your ganks, Maledict and Ward. The Coconut is there to kind of secure them and hold them in place, but really all your damage is going to be the Maledict and the Death Ward hitting them, triggering all the damage. And then in the later stages, we're going to pull Maledict out because it's a lot harder to land, and I'll tell you about that. But when you're in this 6 to 12 zone and you're going around just killing people, Maledict, Death Ward, those are your friends. Let's see. Did the gank. Don't need that one. Yeah, let's move on to the team fight. So once we go around and start killing people, Paralyzing Cask is a really good team fight spell. We may not prioritize it. You have to decide whether you need to save someone with a stun, cancel a spell out, that sort of thing, or go to damage mode. Most of the time, you can kind of start with Death Ward and then move in with Cask and Maledict. That's the safest, furthest, like, I'm the less engaged in the combat as much, the safest distance kind of thing. Ideally, you want to do Coconut, Maledict, Death Ward, but sometimes you just don't have the range for that, which is why one of the first items you get is an Aether Lens. That'll allow you to land all your spells appropriately when you want to, more consistently, because you don't want to be too close that you die, because you want to get all your spells off. But, like, because once you start channeling this Death Ward, everyone's going to focus on you. So you either want to get all your spells out before the Death Ward, or you want to get your Death Ward at max range before anyone can commit on you. And you're further away, since you can cast a Death Ward away from you, and then it attacks from its own spot. So you have a pretty long range on it. And let's do some of those. Team fight. 1730. Yeah, just me going around killing people. Just don't mind me. Yep, more people dying. Yeah, like I killed someone else. It's just the Witch Doctor life. You understand? Alright, so I don't remember this clip. My notes say 1730 team fight. Gone around, so I've died a couple times now. But for the most part, I've been a threat on the Luna and the OD, just trying to make their life as miserable as possible. Now, as you can see, I'm no longer just going by myself. I'm pairing with people because I need kind of their protection to get all my spells off. Alright, I'm going to slow this down a little bit after we watch it once. So right there, I should redirect my ward to something else, but like I said, I did not have the know-how. So let's back up. Maybe not slow. Hurry up, game. So the fight's breaking out. Max range, I want to get my Coconut off because I want to keep them stunned after the Dawnbreaker ult. And you can see they're all grouped up enough so it's bouncing. That meant I was in range for the Maledict because I have the Aether Lens. And I just want to pop it on 1 or 2 targets. I think I was aiming for OD and Marcy, but I missed the OD. So that's kind of okay. It's at least I hit someone with it. I don't want to overcommit to get it on both of them. Yeah, I got them both. They're both there. And right here, you see I'm channeling the ultimate. I should redirect it to the Dazzle or the OD. Eventually it redirects on its own, but as you see, they're very, very demolished, very dead skis. And hopefully there's one. Yes, so this is one where I did the Coconut Maledict Death Ward, and that's because as I'm entering the fight, I'm not in danger, right? They're being initiated on by Dawnbreaker. They're very scared. I'm coming from a sideline. I feel that I can follow up the CC of the Dawn with my own spells. I have this Aether Lens, and overall I just feel safe enough to cast all my spells. So I'm going to get all my spells out, get the Maledict, and as soon as a Maledict is cast, I'm dropping the Death Ward. I don't care where I'm dropping it. I just want it on one of the Maledict targets to maximize this Maledict damage. During your channel, you can be casting a Glimmer Cape on yourself if you have that. I don't think I have recommended in the build, but that is one thing you can be doing during your ultimate. But for the most part, once you drop your ult, you're kind of just committing to it until you decide to cancel it. Obviously, the longer you have it going, the stronger it is, but don't be afraid to just say, I need to walk away. Like, as long as you get a couple hits in with the ultimate on your Maledict target, it's okay to just cancel it and walk away. Because the earlier you do the damage to the Maledict, the more potent that damage is. I've said that like 10 times. I'm going to say it like 5 more. What do we got here? 2315, lead with ult. Okay, so we are putting pressure on this tier 2. Trying to get my spells at range. Didn't need to drop my ultimate there. I'm lurking on this side, and the fight breaks out on the opposite side. So what happens is like, oh crap. Yeah, I was doing the wards. Here comes the fight. I'm too far away to get all my spells off. So you're gonna see I'm gonna just drop. I drop my ult at maximum range. I'm not gonna walk all the way up here to cast Coconut and Maledict because the fight's gonna be over by then. I'm just gonna drop my Death Ward at max range. And this is another instance where I should have redirected it. Like I said, I learned later. So I committed as far as I could at max range. Now I'm walking into the rest of my spells. I don't think much happens of it. Oh, Shard. Shard is fun. So Shard is a miniature ultimate. Except for this one disappears you away, kind of like the OD thing or Yule's. Like, you are not on the map for the duration of it. It's a lot weaker. I think it's the same range. Yeah, it's just a slower attack speed. But you're off the map for it, so it's a much safer version of your ultimate. And this is like the I use it as the up close version because one, it spawns on you, so the range is much shorter. As you can see, like, I didn't cast it from all the way over here to these guys. I had to be up close and personal to them to get it right here. And that's it. Like, you can see it stopped attacking. This is already max range, so it's much closer because it's on you, but you turn into the ward. So it's a very safe thing to do. So when you are getting up close, so if you cast your Death Ward at max range, you get up close, you can still do your combo, just a little less effective with your shorter range version of your ultimate. What do we got here? Lead with ult. And then of course you can see me after combat. I am high enough level now that I'm starting to heal people after combat. You want to pop it in the middle of combat, but since it's it's like a trickle of healing. Until you get your level 25 talent, it is not a significant portion of healing on anyone that has like any amount of healing. It doesn't scale. Like, it doesn't scale very well until you have the level 25 talent that does percent based healing. So it's more of just a casual, hey, I'm trying to top you off while we're waiting around. Eventually, I'm just babysitting this invoker until we leave, pick up the rune, and take another fight. Yeah. Let's see. I think that covers about everything. Let's go to the items, see what I missed here. So the Blink Dagger is good for when you need those, when your team's relying on that Coconut Maledict version of your combo. And if your ward's not cutting it. The Ags, what that does is adds True Strike to your Death Ward, because remember, it's just a right click. So if any of their heroes have evasion, the Aghanim Scepter makes it so that it goes, I don't know why that's showing Solar Guardian. I'm sorry, guys. That's so weird. Maybe if I just go back into the game, because I got Solar Guardian selected here. So the Ags, what it does is grants True Strike and bounces to another target. It's a very greedy item. As you can tell, you don't really need the Ags for a lot of the fights. I'd say most of the time what you want it for is the Piercing Evasion, the True Strike, or if there's 2 priority targets with BKBs that are running in together, like a Razor and +1, and you want to just make sure that you are hitting both of them and pressuring them, because you're one of the few people that can pressure a BKB other than your carry. You're one of the few supports that can do that as well. Items, that's what we're looking at. We're looking at items. So Blink Dagger is good if you need the combo. Ags upgrades your ultimate. Sometimes someone needs to carry a vessel and you can be a good target for it. It pairs fairly well with your Maledict, because like I said, Maledict, it's not technically the damage dealt to the target during the window, it's the hit points they've lost. So since Spirit Vessel is an HP loss and not damage, you're not being hindered by it, right? So it pairs well. So if you Maledict someone and Spirit Vessel them, they will take significant portions of damage. You can just outright kill people if they don't have any healing or damage mitigation by just Maledict and Spirit Vessel and walk away. So that can be very strong. And it plays really well into the idea that you're going around farming kills. Aeon Disc. So a nice thing about Aeon Disc is if you're channeling your ultimate and Aeon Disc triggers, your ultimate is still doing max damage because it is not you. So since the damage from your ultimate is coming from the ward, you're still doing full damage during this. So that's pretty cool. Also, just squishy support has to cast their spells. Maledict, since it's a long duration damage over time, even if one of the ticks happened during your Aeon Disc trigger, you're still getting the other ticks on the spell at full value. So the whole point is you want to make sure that you get all your spells off during combat. And if for some reason you're dying early, Aeon Disc is a great way to, let me get my Cask, Maledict, and now I can die successfully. Glimmer Cape can be used during channeling your ultimate. BKB, sometimes if your team's relying on your ultimate, you can pop BKB right before it, and this will make sure that no one can interrupt you. Again, this is just because your ultimate goes through BKB and is a very aggressive zone of control of you can't fight near this ward. And then just normal support items. I don't have Force Staff on my list because I'm not a Force Staff kind of person. I don't know why there's a Bracer here. Don't mind me on the Bracer. Sometimes you just need to be more tanky, you understand? And at 25 minutes, 10 strength for 500 gold, it can be a thing. And all of this is basically just saying, survive in the fight long enough to get all your spells, win game. Yeah. We talked about the Shard, we talked about the Aether Lens. Those are really the two big deals. You can use that Shard as a second burst of damage, or you can use it as a crap, a PA jumped me. What am I going to do? Oh, I'm just going to disappear for a couple seconds, make them look like an idiot. Yeah. If you got any questions, please let me know. I'll go back to the abilities page here. I definitely prefer the Maledict AoE because I'm bad at hitting with it, the Maledict. Sometimes this means you can hit another target too. Death Ward attack range because I just like hitting people. I would say you can compare it in the game, but most of the time you're going to get more mileage out of your ultimate than your Maledict in the late game, because even though Maledict is not dispellable, it is just straight magic damage, and that, as the game goes on, is usually countered a lot heavier than the physical damage of the ward. And yeah, I will catch you guys later. Peace.